Today, we're going to talk about cassava, how it is both a survival crop in Florida and a staple, why you should grow it. Well, like the intro said, we're talking about cassava today. Now, if you've been following along for any period of time, you see I grow cassava. I grow specifically the sweet type of cassava. Now, there's a bunch of different cultivars out there. I have no idea what the cultivar of this one is. It just doesn't really matter, at least not to me. See, all cassava can be broke down into bitter cassava or sweet cassava. And that's kind of important. See, cassava has cyanide in it. And if it's not prepared correctly, you can have problems, including being paralyzed or, if you're unlucky enough, death. Now, don't let that scare you away from this crop because this crop is absolutely wonderful. Now, to mitigate those problems, I went with the sweet cassava. And that's because the sweet cassava contains significantly less cyanide in it and is much easier to process. Bitter cassava has its benefits as well. Bitter cassava produces much bigger root systems, and that's what you're eating on it is the roots. But with that, you have to process it more. And I'm not an expert on processing the bitter cassava, so I didn't really want to mess with that. So, compliments of a friend and a lot of reading and whatnot so I could figure out exactly what is what. I determined I really wanted sweet cassava, and a friend of mine happened to have some. I believe his is from Jamaica, but I'm not sure. It's a nice red cassava. Red on the outside, white on the inside. But this plant is such a wonderful plant to be growing in Florida if you're looking for certain things. The food quality is decent. You can make bread out of it. You can eat it like potatoes. You can make your flour. You can use it to thicken sauces. I mean, some people know it as tapioca. Some people, so you can make pudding out of it. Um, Boba, if you like boba tea, those pearls, that's made from cassava. It's all the same plant. It's all on how you process it. Now, you see behind me, these are all cuttings. I just did some harvesting and cooking and processing a couple days ago. I got about 5 pounds from what I harvested. And some of these are from some branches that got knocked off of my trees and a pretty heavy wind event. Now, this is a long-term crop. It takes a year or so before you're really going to be harvesting them. It's not quick like potatoes. In 3-4 months. We're talking, this is a year's investment in time for your first crop. And depending on how you go about it, this crop becomes exponential. See, they grow really easy from cutting. You just simply take a cutting like this, and you can root it in water. You can jam it in a pot and let it root and then plant it later. Or you can literally just walk around with a little shovel or just jam them into the ground. They grow in Florida very easy. They don't have any problems with our pests in the soil. They don't really have any problems with pests pretty much at all. And that's because of the cyanide that the plants contain. Now, when you're processing them, you really should wear gloves, but especially with the bitter cassava. So, some of them are very, very high in that cyanide, or technically it's a cyanide. But with the sweet cassava, I found that's not really necessary. I'm not having any adverse reactions. Now, you can plant them in rows, you can just have them staggered about. Either way, each plant is going to produce you anywhere between 5 and 30 pounds of roots. So just imagine having a row of those and being able to harvest them. Now, one of the things about it is once you harvest it, you have to process it and cook it right then. You can freeze it, you can can it, you can do whatever else you want, but you can't really leave them just sitting out. The outside will oxidize and it'll go bad. So it's one of those things where you harvest it as you need it. So you know you're going to need some, you go harvest it. 1 or 2 plants at a time. As far as staple crop goes, because you can get lots of them going and they go really easy, they're not really all that difficult to dig because Florida's sand. You can really get them going. You know, maybe once a week, harvest 1 plant, and that's your starches for the week. So, and if you learn how to make flour and other things out of it, you could really stretch that out. Now, there is another aspect, and this is from a Florida perspective, that cassava is really over the top at, and it is a survival crop. Anybody who has ever lived in Florida knows about the hurricane problem here. We get hit by hurricanes almost every year. Hurricane can come through, knock out your power, completely knock down all the trees, knock down your cassava trees. But those roots in the ground will be just fine. Trees will come back from the roots. You can pick up the branches that broke off, shove them in the ground and grow more. But during that time period where you might not be able to be getting groceries because the trucks haven't gotten through or there's no power yet, you can go out in your yard and you can dig up 5 to 30 pounds of a high density starch out of your yard, cook it up, and guarantee that you and your family get something to eat.